Hey everyone, Hawks21 here, back with another Splinterlands video. Today was a really exciting day as we got our third airdrop revealed that we've unlocked since the general sale, and that is Grum Flameblade, this big guy right here in the middle. These are the three cards we've unlocked since the general sale, and hopefully these will be airdropped to pack holders, I think either the end of this week or next week, but I'm really excited about all three of these cards. Some of them will certainly be meta defining, so I wanted to take some time and rank them for you and run through some of the pros and cons that I see in some of them. So coming in at number 3, we have Iza The Fanged. I actually really like this card, so even though I've ranked it at number 3, it's a card I see myself using a lot. The stun that I'll be able to use at the gold level is going to be really, really valuable, as you'll see with some of the pros. At the bronze and silver level, it's a little less sort of exciting to me before the stun. I mean, any sneak monster is a good monster, and the scavenge is certainly nice to pick up some health, but it's a pretty low damage monster, so until it gets the stun, there's better options out there. So the first thing I noticed was how great of a last stand counter this card is. I can't tell you how many times I've seen, in my opponent's recently played matches, Llama Kron, Llama Flesh Golem, Llama Pellicor Mercenary now. Just this big healer in the back that their whole game plan is to get this person to the front and have them go into last stand. And I line up all of these sneak monsters and make a play straight for the back, and the whole time it's just healing itself up. I can't get through it, and eventually it gets to the front and just wipes out my entire team. Well, this changes that a little bit. If you're able to stun that monster in the back and prevent it from healing, you'll be able to chip away much quicker at the intended monster your opponent wants to go into last stand. Because when a monster is stunned, it can't heal itself during that time, so you'll have more time to, kill it before it gets to the front. A lot of times in last stand, you kind of set your lineup and hope and pray. This is the first time you have a little bit more control, where you can have an active strategy towards making sure it can't heal itself in the back. Sort of similar related on the second pro, which is that it can stun high damage dealers. A lot of people hide their high damage dealers in the back because it's generally a pretty good strategy. And this monster will be able to stun them. So it's a 50% chance to stun on any time that Iza lands an attack. So that's going to be a couple missed turns by presumably the highest damage dealing monsters your opponent has that are just chilling out in the back line, protected by its tanks in the front. The third pro that I see is that it's low mana. It's going to fit into Little League matches. You're going to be able to squeeze it into a lot of games. It's a good sneak play to put in with a bunch of other sneak cards. It's low mana, just gives you versatility to plug and play in different types of lineups. Finally, it has really great synergies, specifically with the heavy hitters and super sneak rule sets. So in heavy hitters, every single monster gets knockout. So if you're able to stun the backline monster and you have another sneak monster lined up after Iza with knockout in the heavy hitters rule set, it's going to do double damage to that stun monster in the back. I mean, this is a card where you can plan around these strategies and completely wipe out your opponent's team just from having this sneak stun. It's a really interesting combination. And again, the same with super sneak. Right now, there's no sneak monsters with knockout, but there are plenty of melee monsters with knockout. So in the super sneak rule set, where you have all melee monsters firing at the back, this stun to knockout combination could work well. Now off to the cons, and there certainly are a few. First, as I just mentioned, there's no sneaks with knockout. So there's no clear synergy right now where you can, set up a stun and then follow up with a sneak with knockout to do double damage. It just doesn't exist. This card's kind of niche, so you sort of have to plan your entire lineup around it and get lucky with some rule sets in order for it to be fully effective. Second con is because of its low health, just the 3, that's at every single level, it's an early opportunity target. So I know it has scavenge, But early in the game, if this is your lowest health monster, it's going to get wiped out by opportunity attacks before it gets to scavenge any health up. So it's a card you could set your whole lineup towards and then lose, first or second turn once their opportunity monster goes. And there's no clear summoner synergy in the modern format. I know there's Prince Rain, which, not a lot of people have. That gives the plus archery boost for Earth, so that would be a clear synergy. But most people aren't relying on that. So, there's no clear play here with any of the Earth summoners right now. Finally, its main value to me is the stun at gold and above, which is complete RNG, which means random number generator for those who don't know. Basically, it's a 50-50 shot anytime this lands an attack if there's going to be a stun or not. And I personally don't like relying on that, as my main strategy, because you could come into a match and expect some stuns and get 0 stuns. It's just complete luck. So, I view that as a con. Some people like sort of that volatility, not knowing what's going to happen. But personally, I like to stay away from it. All right, that was Iza The Fanged. Now moving on to number 2, Grum Flameblade. So a lot of people were talking this card up. It has a brand new ability. And at first I was thinking I was going to put it at my first choice. But after I looked closer, I had to slot it here at number 2, mainly because of its cons, but we'll start with its pros. First, this is the perfect magic spam counter. At the silver level, it has both Void Armor, which means magic is going to hit its armor before its health, and Void, which is going to cut all magic damage in half. Magic spamming is still one of the probably most used strategies in bronze and silver, and we now have this absolute beefcake to sit up front and just take all of that damage before they can start getting to your back line. So it is the perfect magic spam counter. And honestly, that was something that Magic had been missing for a really long time, a tank that could, last against Magic. And we've sort of seen with Tusk the Wide and now Grum Flameblade that the Splinterlands devs and player people have tried to address that. He is certainly an anti-magic tank. Dominant in reverse speed. This one speed is going to come up again in the con section, but if you get that reverse speed match, you should play him 100% of the time if you have the mana to do it. He is going to absolutely dominate low speed matches. Next is Bloodlust, the brand new ability. It's really exciting for those who don't know. Previously, this ability right here on the left has only been for gladiator cards, which you can only use in brawls if you're in a guild. So this is the first time it's hit sort of the main ranked play game. And what it does is anytime Grum kills one of the enemy monsters, it's going to gain 1 to each of its skills. So if it kills someone, his attack's going to go to 6, his speed will go to 2, his shield will go to 6, and his health will go to 16. If he kills another person, each one of those numbers will go up again. It's a really powerful ability. It requires a bit of luck. It's pretty hard to sort of line up a strategy where, Grum's going to be the one that always kills people. But just having played some brawls, when you do get lucky and your Bloodlust monster gets a bunch of kills and starts, getting his skills increased, it's really, really fun. And it'll be interesting to see how this sort of changes the meta as we presumably see some more monsters with Bloodlust enter the ranked play scene. Final pro is that it has Giant Killer, and it's going to be a great use in the high mana matches, which given its 11 mana is where it's mostly going to be used anyways. So in the higher mana matches, you're going to get a lot of 10 plus monsters being played because you have room for them, and they're the most powerful monsters. So having this Giant Killer ability is going to ensure that it gets used. Because again, you're not going to be able to really squeeze Grum into a lot of matches given his 11 mana, but in the big ones with other big monsters, at gold and above, he's going to be able to do that double damage with his Giant Killer. Now to the cons. Biggest con to me is that he's so slow. He's going to get dodged a ton, so if you have him in the front and you're relying on him to be your main damage dealer, you're going to have to be ready for some dodges because You know, if I toss my Nightmare up there with the 6 speed, that's before any buffs, you know, it's a 50-50 shot that Grum's even going to be able to hit him. So it's definitely a weak point. Also, if the opponent doesn't do magic, he can be susceptible to other types of attacks. And the other backline monsters for your opponent are probably going to be attacking before Grum even gets a chance to go. So if they're able to put enough fast damage in the back, Grum could be wiped out before he even attacks one time. So you'll never even get to see the Bloodlust ability be put to use. Next is the high mana cost. You know, it's sort of self-explanatory. You know, just because of his speed, this isn't a situation where I think you can play him alone very often. Unless you're expecting a full magic spam, I would just be nervous that he would never be able to hit a shot with his 1 speed. So I'm skeptical that you can play him. Maybe I'll be wrong and people will find great success in it, but that's not something I'm going to be counting on. So you're not going to be able to put him into a lot of different types of matches. It's going to be something where when you get those really high mana matches and you're expecting magic, he'll just be the absolute perfect play. Next is not a lot of fire healers. So he has a lot of shield, a lot of health, the void armor, and the void. So he's pretty resilient as is. But for me, it's always nice when I have these like massive tanks out there to have some healing. There's only one fire healer right now, the Fire Beetle. It's a pretty expensive card, so not a lot of people are going to have it. So it's an added thing where if you don't get that magic damage that you're expecting, there's a chance that Grum gets wiped out pretty quickly. One caveat to him is that with the Void and magic hitting shield, I would basically suggest always playing him with a repair monster. I know Fire has a few, and there's the neutral Scavo Hireling that you can play. And just having a repair with him will help him keep him alive for that much longer as magic sort of goes into the shield. Alright, and that brings us to number 1, Lira The Dark. So to me, having this card at number 1, again, I'm playing it gold, which is sort of how I'm thinking about this. It's all about the speed. Speed, speed, speed. I have my deck designed to take advantage of speed. I have a lot of fast cards. My favorite summoner is the Byzantine Kitty. So I really rely on speed to win games. And this card fits in perfectly with what I'm trying to do. The 6 speed by itself, plus the boost that it's going to give to all of my other monsters. Again, I play Nightmare a lot, which has the 6 speed. This is going to boost it up to 7. Also has the phase, so it can dodge magic. Not to mention, if I play them both with Kitty, that's an additional 2 speed for everyone. So Lyra's speed is really what drew me to her, and why I have her ranked number 1. Also, the opportunity plus snare is a pretty deadly combination. So think about how many low health flying monsters that do a lot of damage there are. Specifically, I'm thinking the Fire Splinter. You have the Spark Pixies, the Imp Bowman, combined with the Odin, who, you know, are just raining down archery with the blast on you, and you can't even hit them. They're so fast, they have the flying, so you either can't do the damage in the front to get with them in the back, or your attackers who are going to the back can't hit them, they're not fast enough, they just keep getting dodged. Well, this takes care of that. So with opportunity, Lira is going to target the lowest health monsters in the back, and with snare, she has a 100% chance of hitting flying monsters. So she's going to be able to single-handedly wipe out these low health flying monsters that sit in the back and do all of this damage to you. Third, she's great sneak and snipe protection. She has a decent amount of hit points with 6, and again, the speed that I keep mentioning. I'm very comfortable tossing her in the last position. She can soak up a couple hits, she's so fast that she'll probably dodge some. And then in matches where magic isn't a play or there's only archery, I'm very comfortable putting her in the snipe spot. Again, for the same exact reason. She can take a couple hits, as well as she'll probably give you 1 or 2 dodges. Finally, a buff card in Death. I mean, this is sort of a small one, but Death right now is basically based on nerfing your opponent, which gets a little tricky because it relies on you properly guessing what type of play your opponent's going to do. So I always like when you get a buff card in Death, and it gives me a little bit more control over how I want my team to be built versus trying to guess what the other team is going to play. Now to the cons, because there are some, even though I have her ranked number 1. One is that it's not cheap. 7 mana cost is not inexpensive. It's going to be hard to fit her in, especially because she's archery and can't attack from the top position in sort of like high teens, low 20s types of matches. So yeah, it's not like a plug and play monster that we had at first with Iza. This one requires probably some higher mana in order to be able to play. And then finally, the low attack number for 7 mana, 3 attack at gold and 4 and above is not that much. It's a little counteractive with the fact that she has opportunity, so she's going to be attacking the lowest health monsters on the other team anyways. It's just a lot of times if you want to spend 7 mana on a card, you're going to hope for some more attack. But again, for me, the speed overweighs all that, and Lira is the card I'm most excited for. So before I wrap up, the one caveat I would say is if you're playing at bronze and silver, before Lira gets this speed boost, I would highly suggest focusing on Grum. In bronze and silver, Magic absolutely dominates the meta. So, you just get Magic spammed constantly. So I would prioritize getting a Grum, and if you're in silver, getting it up to level 2 so it gets the Void. Where Lira is less sort of potent if she doesn't have the speed boost to everyone. So for gold, I have Lira. For bronze and silver, I'd probably put Grum above her. And that'll wrap up today's video. I do want to hear from you though. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the new airdrops. What you thought of my pros and cons. Is there anything I'm missing? Do you agree with me? Just give me your thoughts down low. It helps me become a better player. It helps people who watch become a better player. Just builds a community all around. And if you liked the content, I really appreciate you being here. If you could like the video and subscribe, that'll help more people see it and help me get this channel going. Thanks again so much for your time.